It's almost like the dude in the gym doing selfies, taking like 2 minutes. And it's like, dude, you could have just done like 3 sets. What's he at the gym for? Who's he at the gym for?
Right.
Yeah.
Is he there to get strong and be healthy and like feel good because you feel like awesome after a workout? Or is he there to like and post pictures for his social media?
This is Maxim EQ, a show that pushes back against the memification of meaning. In each episode, we explore a familiar phrase through thoughtful conversation that blends unique perspectives and lived experience. Today, we're digging in with Caroline Flynn of Rhode Island. Caroline is an entrepreneur, successful business owner, and a professional actor and voiceover artist. She's also an avid reader. Most importantly, though, mom to a 15-year-old young man. Mike and I have both known her for years and years. She's so unapologetically smart and witty and always has something worthwhile to add. She is part salt, part sweet, and she's going to help us unpack a whopper of a Maxim today. Success lies in its indifference to recognition. Let's get into it. Thanks for coming along. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Now, Maxim EQ with Sam Wall and me, Mike Baumer. We're recording, Sam.
I am feeling some serious freedom this morning, man.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. Freedom from anything in particular?
From mental slavery.
Okay.
Nah,
Nice.
just
You've
kidding.
emancipated yourself.
I've
That's good.
emancipated myself from mental slavery, Mike. So, dude.
Hey, yeah.
Dude, I mean, Caroline Flynn. What?
Caroline Flynn.
This
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
So I have such a weird, like, convoluted engagement with Caroline Flynn as a person in my life. Personally, I know you've known her a lot longer than I have. But I met her back when she was the roommate of our mutual friend in New York City. But then, like, she disappeared 100% until COVID, and we were both doing voiceover work. And I must have been talking about doing VO, like, publicly visible on social media or something. And she reached out to me and we connected. And I think she was just kind of getting an agent and just getting engaged in it. And we ended up reconnecting about that. And it was
Very
just,
cool.
I remember at the time being like, Caroline Flynn, where did you come from? Like, and it was just neat to connect with her. But I love her. I love her.
One of the benefits of social media.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
The upside.
The
to
upside of social media. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I forgot then how much I enjoyed her back in the day. And then it was neat to reconnect with her and to realize that as a grown person that she still had some of the same old spark that she did as a young lass.
100%. I'm glad you used the word spark because I was thinking about this a couple of minutes ago. And like, what is that core Caroline personality attribute? And it's just, she just brings an awesome energy to every room and every conversation and everything that she does. So no pressure.
Yeah. And,
no setup there for
and
expectations. Yeah.
it's funny, like, from a voiceover perspective, like, you don't sit around like rating your friends by the quality of their voice or the character of their voice necessarily. You don't think of people in those terms. Sometimes we think of people whether or not they're good looking or not. You know what I mean? But like, you rarely ever think about like, oh, that guy's got a great voice or she's got a really great sounding voice.
Yeah.
But the minute she told me, her of all people, that she was doing voiceover, I was like, she has a great
it totally made
voice.
sense for you.
Yeah, she's got the perfect.
And not just for Dunkin' Donuts commercials.
Right. Right. No, she has.
As you would think, given the Rhode Islandness.
She's
You know what
got
I mean?
that perfect amount of like kind of salt and smoke in her voice a little bit. You know what I mean? With that total Northeastern accent, because you can tell she's put some work into like being relatable to people of different influences. You know, like she hasn't totally succumbed to the mass hole accent. You know?
Oh, right. Yeah. But she can totally do it when she wants to.
But she can turn it on if she wants to.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So
That makes me want to just get out of the way of the two of you guys because you're both professional VO artists.
We're about to be joined by Caroline Flynn. And I'm super excited, specifically knowing her personality, what she's going to have to share about this particular Maxim today.
Yeah. I share that expectation and anticipation because she said that she would put some effort into it.
Here goes. Caroline Flynn, welcome. Welcome to Maxim EQ.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Unbelievable. I am just so excited to have you here today. I remember your spark and your wit and your northeasternness, and I expect that this is going to be a really entertaining conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun to watch you guys put this show together and grow it for sure.
Thanks, Caroline.
I know. I was just thinking the other day about, I have some days that you just stick out as perfect days. One of those actually was with you, Sam, when you came to visit us in Brooklyn, and we spent the day, bar hopping. But it was sunny and beautiful. And I remember we went to this place, The Alibi, which was my favorite bar at the time. Such a great name for a bar. And we just had like these really deep conversations all day. And maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. It was me, you, and Chris. And it was a great day.
Oh, yeah.
I was like getting in deep with you. So, yeah. And Lippy, of course.
Yeah, I know. What's cool is that I haven't seen you in a while, right? I mean, through pictures, and we stay in touch over text and talk every once in a while. But it's nice to see you.
I know, you too.
Let me ask you, just if you will, because we haven't announced it yet in our pre-roll, what was the maxim that you chose for today's episode?
Success lies in its indifference to recognition.
Yes. Well done.
Yeah.
Option 1.
And you, can you share why you chose it? Others?
I think it's a really interesting topic. I think it has a lot of legs coming off of it.
Okay.
And I also think it ties in a little bit to what's going on currently with young people.
Okay.
And I just wonder how much, social media has changed that for people, what success looks like now versus then. Are you born with it? Do you learn it? That grind. So I just think there's a lot to get into there.
Yeah, cool. So why don't you just go right there? I mean, you compared then versus now. You lived then, you're living now. You also have a son who's only living now and hasn't lived then. So is that a decent launching point to make that comparison, since you already referenced that you feel like there might be a difference?
Yeah, I think my head has changed about it a little bit. Pre-kid, I thought, this is what I always thought about that. I felt bad for people that cared a lot about what other people thought. I felt like they lost power that way. I think it's more powerful to not care because you're just like a hedgehog and you're like, and you're just plowing through and you're becoming successful, but not even thinking about it, in whatever you're doing. And I really think that if you lose a lot of time if you're thinking about what this person thinks, what that, what it looks like, why didn't I get congratulated? Why didn't they say good job? And it's a lot of wasted time. And I feel like a lot of successful people I've met, they don't have that. That's not happening. They don't care what people think. It's not even a thought. And I also think that when you take pride in, seeing a job well done, that is a better kind of pride than, like, oh, good job. Because that's
right. Coming from within instead of from within, externally. Okay.
So that's how I always felt. And I still mostly feel that way. But I wonder now about young people and just the long game. I feel like a lot of them don't see the long game in, grinding it out and building that business or, making that job, building that bridge or, just the things that take time. It's like everybody wants it fast. Everybody wants it instant. And I just wonder if they're robbing themselves by not sticking with it
Yeah.
for a long period of time.
You know, I just want to say real quick, that reminds me of a little something, Sam, from our conversation with Jorge, where we were talking about like the effects of distraction, let's say, right, as a positive or a negative. And something that you just said reminded me of that, Caroline, in terms of that looking for that feedback, so to speak, right, or that affirmation is kind of like eats up cycles and eats up bandwidth. And so I heard that as almost a distraction. So it's keeping you from being focused on the goal or the matter at hand, you know? Mm-hmm. And so distraction is what kind of popped into my head for that.
It reminds me of so many discussions that we've kind of woven together from previous episodes. And my favorite quote, "We live to survive our paradoxes." Like, there is a paradox here where, as we've visited many times in these episodes, that the culture that has been, I guess, imposed on us or attached to us or taught to us with social media and the way that we live within that paradigm now, we've been taught to be authenticated by likes, by superficial attention. But at the same time, we are also evolving into a culture of multivocationalism. We are evolving into, we're no longer the company man. There isn't a pedigree attached to being the lifelong company man as there once was. In our culture, we're not rewarding that. So I find that really paradoxical, because I feel like we're seeking authentication, we're seeking approval all the time with our every superficial action we take, public facing. Yet at the same time, we are also expecting ourselves to be entrepreneurial, to be independently diversified in how we make progress in life, professionally and otherwise, whatever.
Yeah.
You feel me? I feel like...
Yeah, a little more variety, you know, instead of being so specialized and just staying on a narrow path, and that there used to be a reward associated with that, you know, and a cultural reward. And it still might be more true than not in some cultures versus others. But yeah, I feel you.
Which is why I feel like this Maxim today is not only poignant, but it's really shining a light on something that we need to talk about more, you know?
So, Caroline, can I ask you, you know, one of the, if there were a format, if there is a format for this, it's kind of like getting that first explanation as to why something might have resonated with you as a topic, right? And then we kind of move on to like what application it has in your life, or if there's some personal experience that you can attach it to, or, you know, run it through as a filter, right? And Sam and I were just talking a couple of minutes ago before you came on about your chapter as an actor. Right. And so when I was listening to you talk before about just kind of taking pride in a job well done, it's one thing if you've just gone out and pruned your Japanese maple and stand back and be like, that looks really good. Right. But if you're involved in a creative endeavor, you know, making music, acting, art, something like that, the reality is that you're making it and you're putting it out there. And so a recognition of it, an external recognition of it, is kind of part of it. It's harder, I think, to detach yourself from the feedback you get when you're making something versus maybe just taking some pride in something you do around your house, or that, you know, that you're just going to enjoy individually. And so I'm wondering, did you think about this at all, or did this affect you at all when you were pursuing your acting career? How did you define success? Let me just ask it that way instead.
I didn't. Like, I just wanted to try it and see where it brought me, you know? Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be good at it, if I'm going to like it, you know? And so I just wanted to try it. And I knew what I was strong at and what I wasn't. I mean, going to an acting class and getting feedback, to me was mostly hearing what wasn't working, you know, and I appreciated that, and watching other people and seeing what wasn't working. But I wasn't, you know, it didn't change my mind about anything. Like, I really liked doing it. I learned a lot. I realized I definitely like doing things with voice better. And I knew I didn't want to starve. It was like worth it to me to like keep, you know, doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to dabble a little bit, but I'm going to build something else in the background. I didn't get thrown off by feedback. And I feel bad for people who do. Like if they have, I was just reading an article about Jason Bateman, and he said he reads everything about him. And he's really affected by it. And I was like, I was so surprised by that because he strikes me as someone that just does his thing and doesn't care. But I guess there's, people care. And he said he was like really affected by things that he read. Maybe
that really surprises
if you read something like that, you make changes. I know.
Yeah. And depending on how you define success, he's kind of unarguably successful. Right. And yet he's still, very tuned in to the recognition.
Let me ask this question. Yeah. If your motivation depends on recognition, I think we agree here that your consistency will always be fragile, right?
I think so. Or you're not getting the full reward you should by a job well done because you're just wondering if they think it's well done.
Yeah.
It's almost like the dude in the gym. There was a guy I see this all the time because I'm near University of Rhode Island, so there's a lot of college kids. And you will see someone alone, like without even friends, like they're joking around with, but fully on a machine, hogging it, not getting up, posing, like doing selfies. Yeah. Taking like 2 minutes, and it's like, dude, you could have just done like 3 sets.
You'd be done.
You know what I mean?
You'd be done.
You're wasting your time. Right. What are you doing?
So that sets up what I was going to ask kind of here is like, if you detach from the recognition part, right? At least a little, you get steadier, you make better decisions, you're less reactive.
But what's he at the gym for? Who's he at the gym for?
Right.
Yeah.
Is he there to get strong and be healthy and like feel good because you feel like awesome after a workout? Or is he there to and post pictures for his social media?
Right. The question, this is where I'm going to become more curious about you as a parent. It's like, would you still be there? Would you still be doing that if you didn't think people were clapping for you?
I know. That's the sad part. Then you get to miss out on, just in this small little example, you get to miss out on how great it feels after a workout, And that's part of a nice thing about life, like working out, feeling good, or that job well done, or it's...
I think you guys are already saying this, and I might just be catching up to it as a slow drummer, but it's like, to your point, that's just the in the moment robbing of the situation, right? Now there's the post, which is what reaction are they getting to it, if none? Do you know what I mean? Like, so in other words, and maybe you're already saying this by like, you didn't get to experience the enjoyment of how good you feel after a workout and this, that, and the other thing, because it's like, not only are you distracted in the moment by needing to produce content to put out into the world, but then there's also, you're jeopardizing what you get back in terms of that feedback, right? Mm-hmm. So now not only was it a distraction, but you're literally in jeopardy of sabotaging the entire thing if you've set an expectation for getting feedback that doesn't come, in the form of likes and comments.
And then how sad are you?
I would like to add that too, just to take that a little bit deeper into the esoteric, like, if your mind is busy constantly processing what kind of recognition or how much recognition you're getting in this moment, and you're being performative in everything you're engaged in, what makes me a little sad is that in that mode, you're not observing healthier distractions. You're not getting that runner's high and having that light bulb moment, that inspiration. You're not thinking deeper things. You're not, you know what I mean? So to me, that's hindering your growth as a person in compounded ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or connecting with some cutie at the gym who actually is noticing you in real life.
In real life. Yeah, that's a good one. But let me say this. Sometimes I worry about getting judgmental, and I'm only speaking for myself. Like, as soon as I find myself saying, you should be doing this, or you're missing out on that. And I think to myself, and I have a feeling this isn't the case, but what if it turns out that their goal is to like build a successful supplements, brand or something, right? And in order to do that, those are the building blocks to doing it, where they're in the gym, they're producing content, they're putting it out, they're trying to develop followers, but they're doing it all to achieve this other goal, right? And so that's success to them. Now, granted, I'll go out on a limb and say probably at least 9.5 times out of 10, that's not the case in the example that you're referencing. But it does make me wonder, right? Like, we don't always know what somebody's goal is. And it's kind of like the success is defined by if you were intentional enough to have had a goal, right? Like maybe this fictitious person or not so fictitious person that we're talking about at the gym doesn't even have goals, right? But sometimes I feel like, well, maybe we just don't know what the goal is while we're observing other people behave in a way that we think they may be robbing themselves of some other experience. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes. I mean, I agree that can happen, but I think it's the small percentage of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, like we can't know what everybody's doing, but it just seems like a lot of people are doing that. And there's no way that this many people have supplement goals.
Right. Okay, it was just an example, but yes, you are correct. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Seriously, like the gym is crazy near me because it's insane what people are doing. It's insane.
I love this topic, but I want to switch gears if you don't mind, only because I'm not super familiar with your life as a parent. Do you only have one child, Caroline?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
he's 15.
He's 15. I was going to say, how old is your son? Okay, so he's 15. Gotcha. Yeah, so that's, you are really in the thick of it with a 15-year-old young man. That's, this has got to be a really kind of heavy time for you. A lot of observations, a lot of existential stuff going on, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you go about managing it, or maybe not managing it? How do you go about trying to influence it or guide it, coach it, however you want to put it, be a positive influence on how he navigates this?
So I have trouble being quiet. So I have been told by multiple people that I am very bossy and that I'm always telling people what's best for them. That's just like, I feel like I can just see it. I can, see the forest of the trees. Like I can see it. I can see what you're doing wrong. I will help you. I will tell you. Super annoying trait, as it turns out, to a lot of people, especially my son. So I try and work on being quiet a lot because I can just lead by example. He sees how I run my deal, what I do, what I don't do. I admit if I can, work on things. He sees our business, how hard we work. We try and tell him where we came from, how it started. But part of you has to let them figure it out too, right? And I really have always been on him, though, and not quiet about screen time. I've always been pretty strict about that since he was a kid. I never let him have social media stuff until he got Snapchat in the end of 8th grade. And according to him, he was the last one. And he's like, my class of 2028 has a Snapchat. Like, I need to get information. And so anyway, he has that now. He's in 10th grade. But I call it, doom scrolling. Everybody says that, doom scrolling. So if I see him on it too long, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, go outside. I actually have a big sign downstairs that says the Wi-Fi password is go outside and play.
Yeah.
And he's big into dirt bikes and riding. And so that's good. But he can get caught in it. And I'm just like, get off. And he's watching people ride bikes, dirt bikes. And he's got 3 get out, go on your dirt bike. So sometimes he has to be reminded, but I think overall he's going to have a good balance. But
man, dirt bike riding is really, really good brain exercising. The amount of focus that it takes, the amount of hyper focus, and the removal of slop and bullshit that is required to become good at that. It's a great eye-hand coordination, kind of full body physical engagement. It's so good for your mind. I know I'm a motorcycle rider, so I know that mindset. It's great. We were just almost talking about this before we invited you on today, that in the information age and the way that we compute information and gather data these days, advancements in research happen 20-fold faster than they did even when we were born. You know what I mean? Like, so nuts. So truth is changing that quickly. So if you wrap your head around that and think like how much more patient and static the matriculation of wisdom in the human experience was for people a generation ago. You know what I mean? And nowadays, I'm in a constant state of imposter syndrome because I feel like every time I look out at the world, everyone's gotten a fucking memo about something that I didn't get. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like,
you're getting old, dude.
Yeah. But I feel like we're getting to a time, Mike, I feel like we're getting to a time where this is happening to our 15-year-olds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, to me, that brings up sympathy.
For sure.
Along with my empathy, but it brings up sympathy for these kids. And I'm like, oh my God, like it literally makes me emotional talking about it and thinking about it. I'm like, this is fucking unfair. How hard it is for you kids to just feel authentic.
Yeah.
You know?
So much information coming at them. And I feel like, I don't want to sound old, but I don't know. I just feel like their childhood is tainted by all of this that's going on in this extra background noise and all the social media stuff, all the things that come out at school, like, you know, the stupid AI stuff that they can do now, making each other kiss, that it didn't even happen. Something going around at school of two people kissing that you can just make it like that, you know? And it's bananas.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
I feel like if you can just go backwards a little bit, you know, like even though the dirt bike thing does stress me out as a parent, but just going out and doing things like that, sitting down, reading a book,
Love it.
Going for a dirt bike ride, you know, going for a walk.
You think you understand me. You think you have an inside point of view. You think that you command me. You think I'm gonna hate to break it to you.
Take yourself out.
Does he
of it.
like to read?
No. So I always read to him. I'm a big reader. It's always disappointed me. His father's the same way. My husband doesn't read. He likes to be read to. So he'll do audio stuff, you know, but he won't actually read about it.
I mean, it's still absorbing information, you know.
Yeah.
But
just pointing out how they feel, too, is a big thing. I try and do that. Be like, okay, so you are someone who just was on playing video games with friends for 4 hours, and you come up and you're in a bad mood and, you know, all the negative things that go along with that. And then, you know, you've been off of any computers for a week and you're like a totally different person. You know, you're fun to be around. You want to do stuff. And it just really, I don't think they understand the effects. And that's part of, I hate with school is that they're on their computers like all day. So they on this all day and then they come home and then they want to look at that. And it's too much.
Yeah.
So,
just out of curiosity, separating the sharing of your observations, let's just say in this case with Oliver, from what you were talking about earlier in terms of like always needing to inject yourself, right? There is a big difference between always going like, you should do this and you should do that and blah, 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 and actually acting as a semi-objective observer where you're kind of tying together, look, see, you're in a great mood. Like, and you just did this, like the cause and effect thing. Do you think that there's a pretty big difference? Because I kind of put the former in the category of nagging, right? Or correcting or being judgmental or whatever. And I put the latter in the form of, wow, if somebody that I trusted and respected was pointing out those patterns to me,
yes.
I would probably be more apt to receive that feedback because it also wasn't being clouded by, it wasn't shutting me off to that constructive feedback because I've been receiving so much other naggy feedback.
Right.
You know,
I learned that from my hairdresser.
Okay.
How to do that. Her kids are older, so I get a lot of pictures from her.
Love it.
And she gave me that tip, actually. Okay. So because I told her I was having trouble not nagging. And so she's like, try this. And so that's what I've been doing.
I want to say something before we get too far away from this. You mentioned something earlier that implied that part of how you're engaging with Oliver is that you said something about like he's not even kind of giving awareness or a moment to how he's feeling about something, and I love that you said that. And I love that's part of it too, because I feel like as adults in these kids' lives, without being nagging, there's a way to approach them and model for them that how they're feeling is important. And it's worthwhile to spend a minute in feeling things. And that's actually a great source of wisdom. And I think that oftentimes, especially with teenagers, the only way we can impart that value or message on them is by modeling that, or without being nagging about it. But I wanted to this segues for me. I wanted to ask, because I was asking Mike about you earlier, the fact that you did go to acting school, and I've always found that actors in particular are quite observant people who pay attention to feelings and how feelings affect behavior and how behaviors look on the outside, you know what I mean? And all of those kinds of things. I think it's in a very attuned discipline and skill set. And I'm wondering, do you reflect on some of your acting education or your acting experience sometimes when you're, in a fundamental sense, when you're acting out in your life as a parent or whatever? How did the acting education inform or how is it now filtered into your life professionally or as a parent or as a relationship person or whatever?
Funny. I think that's why I was attracted to acting in the first place, because I'm so into the little nuances and how you can just read a person. I feel like I can read a person and just one little thing happens and you can just like see their face change and, and you just made them upset or the cover up or I'm a big fan of the jokes to cover it up. So I think I've always kind of dragged along with me, not like putting on a show, but, making people comfortable, not having them bored is a big thing. Like if we're together, I don't want to be bored. I don't think they want to be bored. It's funny. I have this thing hanging up in my voiceover booth that says like some of the things I've done in my life. So like, bartender, waitress, naked paint when I had the skincare company, all those things. So I can go back if I'm doing a voiceover script and I can talk like I'm that person again.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's great. That's so cool. It's like the value of having worn so many different hats is that you've created this bag to pull from when you're either acting or trying to embody a persona, for that gig. Right. To be that voice, to be the voice of that persona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you've got a wider palette, when you're doing your thing. That's great. Love it.
So I guess I act like I pretend to be maybe an older self, if that makes sense. So I've dragged acting along with me to act like a version of myself, at least in the voiceover room. In parent, I'm not really sure. Like, I guess I would have to think about that more. Maybe if I act like I'm not too interested in something, like if we're driving in the car, because you get a lot of info in the car. And if I pull back my interest, I get more information, if I act cool about it.
Right.
Like, not like, well, what are you saying?
Yeah. A demonstration of indifference.
Yes. Different. Success with indifference. Talking to teenagers.
Even if that demonstration is performative only, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well. Yeah, because I do care. But it is true. Like teenagers do start to tune you out a little bit. And we were always very close and we are very close. But it's different being a parent the older they get, your little phases. Now it's teenager, and that's our phase.
I think about a couple of things that, one, when you were talking earlier about constantly injecting yourself and like nagging them and stuff, right? This has come up in other episodes. My therapist shared this with me at some point, right? It's like, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? Does it need to be said right now by me? Right. And there are
my God, you have to text me that.
Really?
I'm going to get that tattoo right up my...
Right. And seriously, like it doesn't mean that I actually exercise it every time I should, but just doing it half the time gets you a really long way, right? So there's an A and a B to this, to me sharing this. So yeah, probably 80% of the time it's going to be no, right? There will be times when it's yes, he's about to go flying over his handlebars and this, that, and the other thing. And you're like, yeah, I think I need to say something right now, right? So yeah, there will be a few yeses. But that combined with the other idea that it's usually the people who don't talk a lot that when they do have something to say, it's of great value and it's profound and this, that, and the other thing. And
I'm so jealous of those people.
I know, right? It was funny. My therapist was talking to me about that one day too. It's like you get this, the quiet one, you get this reputation for like all of a sudden when you finally do say something, you get more attention on you because it's, oh my God, it's about to speak, right? And I said, well, the funny thing to me about that is the person who's by design intentionally quiet to try to cultivate that reputation. And when they finally open their mouth, they say the stupidest fucking thing you could possibly imagine, which to me is like,
oh, that's
so great, right? Hey, it finally spoke. Holy shit. Now I realize how dumb it is and why it never speaks. Right? But my point is, if you implement part one, right, which is doesn't need to be said and doesn't that whole thing. And then all of a sudden, Oliver starts looking at you like, holy shit, when she says something, it's really valuable, right? Like, will your attempt to affect be more effective, right? If you do part one, and then everything that you say when you get to part two just has more value. And I started thinking about those things where you were talking about observing in him when doing what you associate with being healthy is actually having this positive effect. So if you cut out all the nagging, part one, and you only ended up with part two, the irony is you would become much more effective at what you're setting out to do in the first place, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Word.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Word indeed.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look out, hairdresser.
I know. I love that. No, it's good. It's good.
You're not doing that.
I have a personality that's like, but sometimes it's bad. So yeah. So especially with that, yes, I have to be quiet. So text me that.
So I'll tell you what, like that segues nicely into something I wanted to share with you guys. I started reading this book, Think Again, by Adam Grant, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. And this was given to me recently by one of our guests, Phil, who was our season 1 wrap-up show guy. But it's really interesting because this book is talking about how we get almost paralyzed by the performativeness of our expert position on certain things in life, right? Like we get into this role like I am the mother of this child, so that I am going to have to maintain this character of confidence and always have the right guidance or the right thing to say, or have these principles, I have these values, and we're going to remember what those are. We're going to impart those values, blah, 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 blah. And I've always kind of been a little bit like that too, with regard to how I provide for my young people. But this book is kind of changing some of that for me, because this book is talking about, and I think of everything in terms of how I can become a more graceful and better person, and therefore impart that by my example on my young people, right? So,
love it.
So to me, this is talking about exercising the muscles of being a sovereign from or free from the trappings of the idea that you have already thought of everything, that you are an expert. You know what I mean? And excusing yourself from being performative as said expert, and being always in a mode of recalibration, of rethinking. And there's a lot of humility in that. And I love that. And so to me, it's like being in a mode of questioning. We've talked about this before, Mike, always being question forward, being curiosity forward. But I love this passage. I want to read this real quick to you guys, because I highlighted this earlier, and I think it's so powerful. And he says, as we think and talk, we often slip into the mindsets of 3 different professions: preachers, prosecutors, and politicians. In each of these modes, we take on a particular identity and use a distinct set of tools. We go into preacher mode when our sacred beliefs are in jeopardy. We deliver sermons to protect and promote our ideals. We enter into prosecutor mode when we recognize flaws in other people's reasoning. We marshal arguments to prove them wrong and win our case. We shift into politician mode when we're seeking to win over the audience. We campaign and lobby for the approval of our constituents. The risk is that we become so wrapped up in preaching that we're right, prosecuting others who are wrong, and politicking for support that we don't bother to rethink our own views.
Nice.
And
that sounds so interesting.
Yeah, that's in the first chapter of this book. When I read that last night, I was just like,
yeah,
like that.
True.
That is 100% true. And he gives some really, in the prologue of the book, he gives some really powerful testimonies, a couple different testimonies about moments where it was literally a life and death situation that could have been survived by someone a little quicker on their feet to stop. Like, for example, firefighters in a situation where they're suddenly being engulfed by an unforeseen forest fire that's burning out of control, and they're escaping carrying 60 pounds of gear, you know what I mean? Their chainsaws and their shit, and they get fucking engulfed by the fire and they die. Had they, and they bring in a scientist to prove this, had they thought more quickly on their feet, shed themselves of their gear, tossed that shit aside, lit a fire in front of themselves to create a backdraft, and then ran straight into it with no gear, lighter on their feet, they would have escaped and survived. But they are men of their gear. They are firefighters. And what makes them firefighters is that they have this backpack full of tools and shovels and saws and all this stuff. And it's kind of like they're, you know what I mean? So their instinct is not to like throw all that shit aside and skinny for survival. You know what I mean? Like, you know, but it's just a great
Wow.
point. And it just, to me, it's like, I see that in my life in so many different terms.
It's funny that it's like books have to point out stuff like that, you know, that you're falling into these patterns, how to break out of them, stop talking at people.
Well, it's even funnier to me that there's guys out there thinking about this,
right?
And sharing. I love that. I am. You know what I mean? I feel like that school kid who's like, computers are so amazing. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, books. There's people who have thought of all these things. There's probably 19,000 books written on the same topic out there, ready for your.
And you never know which one's going to land on your radar and which one's going to resonate with you. Delivered a certain way in terms of language, delivered at a certain time, what's going to resonate with you? To your point, and we've talked about this a bunch too, right? It's like taking everything back to music. There's a million love songs. Does the world need Paul McCartney, do we need one more love song? It's like, yeah, maybe, because that's the one that's going to resonate with you.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I struggled with that with the show. It's like, does the world need another podcast? I don't know. Like maybe we're discussing topics from some other angle at a time that happens to connect with somebody. And that was a good enough reason for doing it. This is tied to the Maxim, and I hadn't really thought about it in lead up to this conversation, which was, it goes back to the impetus for doing this. I was listening to some podcasts. I don't remember what it was. It was probably Rick Rubin related. And whether it was Rick or who he was in conversation with, said there are only two reasons not to do something: the fear of failing and time. Now, I would say maybe a little bit more than that. Can you afford to do it? Like, do you have the bandwidth to do it? Are you working 3 jobs to like put food on the table for your kids to eat? But let's just say the financial component aside for a second. Fear of failing and time. Yeah, it's going to take some time. And are you going to not do it because you're afraid of the outcome or that you're going to fail at it? And I thought, I've got time and I'm going to not be afraid of failing. So maybe there's something to do here. Maybe there's a project in this. And that's when Sam and I started doing it. And it's kind of kept me going through this. There are times when I'm just like, I don't know if I feel like doing this, or what's the payoff in all of this? And the reality is that I've enjoyed the process. I've enjoyed having the conversations and connecting both with people that I might not get to see all the time and with new people that either I bring to the conversation that Sam hasn't met and vice versa. And at the end of the day, like, that's how we've chosen to define success for this project. I don't love approaching things from a negative. So even saying that the only reason not to do something is fear of failure, it's kind of funny, right? Because what would the failure be? You know,
Well, I think
don't
that
know.
plagues a lot of people.
You took the words out of my mouth just this minute, because I feel like what we've learned so much about here in this process is how little we know about what actual failure is. We don't.
Yeah.
I think it.
Yeah. Like, what would failure have to be that if I weren't having this conversation with you guys, I wouldn't have just had a heart attack and died?
Right.
I mean, short of that, like, what's the worst?
Oh my God,
What's
I think
the
it's
worst
not
thing?
trying.
What's the worst thing that could
Failure is.
happen? There you go. Okay, fine. Failure's not
love
trying.
that.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
awesome.
That's gonna get tattooed on me.
I was like, I'll tattoo that on me while you tattoo.
Failure.
That'll take up a lot less space than does it need to be said, does it need to be. You better eat some more cheeseburgers if you're going to have enough room to put another one on.
that.
But okay.
I love that.
I do think trying things plagues people because they're so worried that it's not going to work out. And we always joke, I say we, me and my husband, we always joke about people who like to talk about saddling up, but they never ride. You know, those people,
wow,
they're just
yeah.
like, I'm going to do this and that's going to be like
Yeah.
that. And they're just, this project, they talk about it for like 3 years and it never happens. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But I really think that if you do not try something that you are into, that is the definition of failure. Like, that's just sucks.
This reminds me of a conversation I had, and I think that I've probably regurgitated this several times in maybe multiple of episodes, but I'm going to say it again. But I was having this great conversation with an old friend of mine. This guy, Tom Mitchell is his name. He's a songwriter, going back to the 60s, published songwriter, great songwriter. And we were chatting. I was mowing my lawn, talking to him with my headphones on. And he was asking me if I'd still been writing songs and engaged in music. And I was like, you know, Tom, I really haven't. I said, I can only write songs when I'm feeling, you know, out of sorts or in pain. And I feel like I've told that story so many times that there's nothing left to tell. You know, and I was like, I'm happy, I'm fulfilled, and I'm in love. And I don't know, that doesn't usually provoke songwriting in me. And he's like, huh. I was like, you know, how about you? And he's like, yeah, I still write every. And I was like, I don't see how you do it. And he's like, well, Sam, he's like, I don't care if you write the same song every day or what you perceive as the same song every day with the same chords. He's like, you've never written today's version of how you feel being in love with your wife.
Yeah.
When he said that to me, I immediately started ugly crying. It really just hit me. I was like, oh my God, that just opens up the universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like, you've never lived this minute's version of yourself. You don't know shit from Shinola about this guy.
Yeah.
You know? So there's all that left to discover.
Yeah. There's a little bit of that going back to Johnny episode again, the river never being the same.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not true in both cases, but to Tom's point, it's like, yeah, but you didn't write that song today. You wrote it yesterday and you've changed since then. You know, your perspective has changed since then, you know, et cetera. But yeah, but to bring it back to the Maxim a little bit. And again, if there were a format, it's kind of just, what is it about this combination of words that originally landed for you? Then it's like, what's a little bit more of an unpacked take on it? And now I kind of feel like, okay, what application do you feel like it has for you right now or going forward? We already talked about maybe as it relates to everything you've learned around it and what you're trying to impart and influence Oliver around, right? But what about for you? What about, not to get personal and say for you and Vin or whatever, but it doesn't matter what it is, right? Whether it's as a parent, whether it's professionally, whether it's friendships, whether it's in your marriage. Is there something about this Maxim that kind of reminds you to consciously recommit to what's important to you?
Yeah.
Like to get out of autopilot. And so my question is it only a concept that you agree with while you're thinking about it? Or do you find that when you took a few minutes to think about it in preparation for having this conversation, that now you see some other way to kind of recommit to it?
This is Mike Baumer for What's Your Takeaway?
What's your takeaway?
Yeah, thank you.
My
Great.
takeaway, I loved it because I was drawn to it because that is how I feel in my innermost being. Like I just do it and I don't think about who's noticing or telling me good job. And
Awesome.
I think everybody else would be better off to do that because I like to tell people what to do. And I think everybody would be better off to do it because you're just taking away from your own self-love and success by caring what other people think about
Yeah.
your success, what success is to you.
Yeah.
You know?
So in some ways, getting this was an opportunity
deep.
to step right on stage and just preach like kind of an ethos that you already have, that you're already living, trying to live every day. So it was something that was already at that surface level for you. It wasn't something that to be brought out.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that going back to that whole social media thing, I think if people spent less time defining success on what people are posting, you know, of what they think that success is, which is probably not, I think they just have more time to work on themselves and make their life better. I really am against, if you can tell, social
Yes.
media.
Love it.
Yep.
I think it's like freaking toxic dump poison.
I mean, toxic's a great word.
So
Absolutely. Well, I will say this. I have a hunch that we're getting ready to wrap this up. I've gotten to know Mike's signals pretty well, which usually means he has to pee. Yeah,
I have to pee. Yeah.
I thought you had to burp.
And, well, maybe.
He has the legendary burp.
it's true.
But what I wanted to say is this, because I feel like it's subsequent to my feelings about social media as well, and that being sometimes the only means by which I reconnect with old friends. But I will say this. There was a time, I think it was during COVID, when you and I did reconnect. And there was a minute when we were encouraging one another in the pursuit of the voiceover vocation. And we were bouncing audition
We got to do that again.
recordings off of one another. And I just wanted to tell you that I may or may not have ever told you this, but I want you to know that, like, I really enjoyed that. Like, that was really, to me, that was the perfect connectivity between us. It felt really validating to me and affirming to me. And it felt also just like a hug. Like, it felt like I was being loved by you from afar to have you share those vulnerabilities with me. I really enjoyed that. And I would encourage that and invite that anytime in the future, just so you know that. Like, I really...
Oh,
Yeah.
I
so
love
sweet.
that.
Yeah.
And because I really liked it too, but I feel like I was bothering you. And
No.
and I love that you and your wife were like listening to it together and giving me feedback.
Never.
But I am going to do that to you now.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that to you again.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you
It
some.
just tickles me when someone cares enough or trusts me enough to bounce those kinds of things off of me. Or I just love that. I really enjoy it. I also just enjoy you, and I enjoy how talented you are. And whatever it takes to keep us in touch with one another for the rest of our lives is fine with me.
I
but if
love it. And you give great advice, which is rare.
Oh, I'm glad you think so, because
Well, speaking of, let me just complete the love circle here, triangle for a second, and say you have contributed to the success of this show, and not just in this episode, but even though we're talking about success lies in its indifference to recognition, this wasn't about recognition. It was about very healthy feedback that you they were giving us in the early stages of trying to put this together. It was very, very helpful. And so to be able to have one of these conversations with you as a participant feels like a full circle moment for me. And
I love it.
Agreed.
I
Okay,
love
great.
it. Thank you. I love the whole idea of doing it. I thought it was perfect for you two to, like you're the perfect match to do a podcast together, I think. And I loved listening to it and seeing it grow. And I think
see if we can give the smartless boys a run for their money. Speaking of Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah.
Well, now that we're going on YouTube as well, by the way, like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying.
Now that people will see how pretty Sam actually is.
Well, I was
we're gonna just
I was
take
gonna
off.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like the pairing of the two of us is really having its full impact, because my level of elevated handsomeness definitely contributes to Mike's public-facing prowess. And imagine if it was Mike and then an ugly guy. You know what I mean? It'd
Right.
be like,
I know.
Doomed.
do I really
And a
want to
frick
watch this?
and a frack.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Nice.
No, you guys are good. You guys are good.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. If this conversation resonated with you, please consider sharing it with a friend who might appreciate it. That's how the show grows, one meaningful connection at a time. And remember, you can always email us at info@maximeqpodcast.com, whether it's to suggest a topic, offer feedback, or just to say hello. Until next time, take care and make it a great day.